Today we have two witness panels. In the first panel, we're joined by four of our colleagues. Our first colleague is joining us remotely, Representative André Carson. Carson represents the 7th Congressional District of Indiana. It encompasses the city of Indianapolis, home of the hottest shrimp cocktail sauce in the world at Elmo's. He's serving in his 7th term in Congress, and you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you to my good friend, Chairman Cohen. I'd like to thank you and the full committee and my buddy, the professor, Chairman Nadler, for your hard work, as well as the ranking member, and all that you do to protect our Constitution, and especially for organizing today's hearing. Muslims across the country, quite frankly, have asked for this kind of hearing for a very long time. And as the longest serving currently Muslim in Congress, it is a tremendous honor to testify today about the persistent discrimination faced by Muslim Americans. I'm particularly pleased to join my buddies, my friends, my congressional colleagues, Representative Judy Chu, Representative Jayapal, and my sister and friend, Representative Omar. As a young Black teenager, a tall Black teenager in Indianapolis, I was targeted, the victim of racial profiling while I was standing outside of a mosque. I was arrested and taken to put behind bars. There was an outcry from the community who saw the injustice that played out. And fortunately, the charges were dropped and I was released and became a police officer years later. But it was my Muslim community and friends that stood with us and fought for my release. I learned a very critical lesson that day, that being Black and being Muslim put someone like me under double scrutiny. And sometimes that discrimination and profiling can endanger an individual's safety. On January 6th, a man drove a truck to the Capitol complex. The truck was loaded with an arsenal of explosives and weapons. The truck also contained a list which included my name and others because I'm a Muslim member of Congress. The man who wrote up that list has finally pled guilty and will serve time for his crimes when he's sentenced next month by a federal judge. But my experience mirrors so many other Muslim Americans who have been threatened, injured, quite frankly, or killed due to profiling and discrimination. This is a very real threat throughout our daily lives. I really hope today's hearing helps to raise more awareness of the very life-changing impacts of discrimination against Muslims. There's a notion that the Muslim American community is a new one in the US, but the truth is that we've been here long before the Declaration of Independence was signed. Enslaved Muslims were taken from their homes and families in Africa and brought to America as slaves. These Muslims brought their religion with them, and they practice it here in the New World. America's founders had high ideals about liberty and freedom, but they were conflicted too. Many of the founders owned slaves, as we know. If you look very closely at George Washington's plantation home at Mount Vernon, you'll see evidence of the Muslim slaves who worked for the nation's first president. If you look among the crosses, you will see crescents on a number of grave markers. Historic Muslim leaders like great Malcolm X and the great Muhammad Ali are well known, but far too many other trailblazers are less known. But never doubt that Muslims have been an integral part of building this nation. From the very beginning to the present, we're not new here. Our tapestry has only grown richer thanks to the arrival of newer generation of Muslim immigrants who have come to build on our American dream. Some fled persecution and some came for educational and economic opportunities. Muslims have made substantial contributions in every aspect of American life, whether it's the field of medicine or business, law, sports, or entertainment. But unfortunately, the aftermath of 9/11 drastically changed many people's perception of us, and those achievements are not acknowledged as they should be. Regrettably, our own government contributed to the discrimination experienced by Muslims with intensified profiling under the guise of national security. As a former law enforcement officer, someone who's worked in counterintelligence, homeland security in Indiana, I can tell you that most officers strive to carry out their oaths to serve and protect in a very responsible and respectful manner. But 9/11 opened a door to a whole new level of widespread profiling that grew out of fear of the other. Federal agencies like TSA and the FBI started a suspect list and no-fly list, many times just because of the way someone's name sounded or how it was spelled. And once someone's name was on those lists, it could be a nightmare to get them removed. You know, traveling while Muslim is challenging. Worshiping while Muslim is a challenge too. Law enforcement and intelligence personnel monitored mosques, conducted questionable surveillance of Muslim communities, initiatives that I believe are intended to preserve our national security, like countering violent extremism or CVE, instead have been misused with disproportionate targeting of Muslims. I'm honored that Speaker Pelosi appointed me to be the first Muslim to serve on the House Intel Committee. She did this despite the very racist attacks that a Muslim could or should not be trusted with intelligence data. So I thank you for the opportunity for highlighting this growing community and contributors to our society. I yield back.